Fam, what's good? It's your boy Thou, FamOverTV. Appreciate everybody tapping into the channel, showing love. They altering our food. They altering our DNA. They doing everything, man. Let's get it.
Fam over.
Eat the bugs. King Chuck has given his royal assent to a biotechnology innovation which will provide an open book for UK firms to alter the genome of animals and plants so as to create novel engineered species and biotech foods. In taking this step, King Chuck has committed an open act of betrayal on all bona fide farmers, and particularly organic farmers. The Genetic Technology Precision Breeding Act 2023 was given the royal go-ahead on 23rd March 2023. This piece of legislation will, for the time being, be unique to the United Kingdom. As such, animal and plant biotech deformations are not allowed in the EU and many other countries. A secondary deception relates to the marketing of such novel recombinant DNA experiments, if that at all sounds familiar. The UK government has stated no separate definition will be given to gene technology engineered products, therefore no special labeling will be needed. The dark irony of the King of England launching unlabeled biotech foods, animals, and plants on the citizens of his own country is difficult to trump. Charles is already in conflict with the constitution of his country by standing shoulder to shoulder with Klaus in promoting the Great Reset, one of the main objectives of which is to render all nation-states obsolete and to centralize all power with the control of a small despotic elite whose stated intention is to make all private property illegal. You'll own nothing, whether that's renting Adobe Photoshop or Uber or Airbnb. All private property illegal, and to re-engineer human beings into transhuman cyborgs. You may have heard stuff about that in the news lately. Charles.
Michael, tell us about this act. What is it exactly?
What, in brief, what this act aims to do is to effectively deregulate, remove all regulatory requirements in terms of human health and environmental well-being risk assessment for certain types of genetically modified foodstuffs, whether they be plants and animals as well, farm animals as well. And in so doing, of course, it means it will almost come down to almost like a reporting system. There will be if a developer of this new type of genetically modified food wants to market a product, they will need to register it with DEFRA and so on, but there will be no requirement on risk assessment and on any labeling either. There'll be no need for any labeling. Now, this is in marked contrast to what the law has been up to now. Up to now, and up to the time when we were members of the European Union, genetically modified foodstuffs had to be risk assessed and they had to be labeled once in the market. And although the risk assessment had many, it was not as good as we would like, at least we had some form of regulation there that assessed to a degree the safety evaluation and environmental impact. But what's happening here now, all of these restrictions are being removed. And why is that? It stems from the fact of the discovery, or the invention, I should say, of a new type of genetic modification, which is called gene editing, which in some, not all, but in some major applications of gene editing, you're not introducing foreign genes into the plant or the animal. You're manipulating the organism's own genes to give it new characteristics. And the advocates of this technology are saying, well, this is something that could happen in nature, and therefore we shouldn't even think of it as genetic modification, and therefore we should remove all regulatory requirements from it, and we should just make them and launch them, and we should be happy with that. Now, this for me is being very, very dishonest. The bill, which is called the Genetic Modification Precision Breeding Bill, is disloyal to the science from its title onwards. because gene editing is neither precise and neither is it a form of breeding. And what comes after that throughout the bill is, for me, goes totally against our modern understanding of molecular genetics, of how genes are organized and function as a network.
So they're gonna have the right to alter food, and they don't have to put what they doing to it on the label or none of that. It's crazy, man. That's why you gotta grow your own food or try to grow your own food. They don't want you to do that either. Comment below. Make sure you like the video.
And that any disturbance to that network will have wide-reaching implications for the composition, performance, composition, and safety of a food. And it also, and it ignores, therefore, the consequences of this manipulation. Even if you change just one gene in a subtle way, you can have wide-reaching implications for the composition and safety of that food product. And so I found it staggering, actually, going through the bill and with a colleague at an NGO called GM Watch. We actually wrote virtually a 20-page deconstruction of the bill, where we were finding literally scientifically inaccurate positions taken by the bill, and where they are simply the way they're trying to get away. Let's put it this way. I want to be very blunt with you here today, James. I'm not going to pull my punches, because this is because this is incredibly important. This bill has incredibly important implications for health and the environment. The way they're literally trying to get away from risk assessment is by ignoring the process of gene editing itself. They're saying, just look at the end result. Look at the end result of the gene editing. And if we can convince ourselves that this is something that may have occurred naturally anyway, and there's no evidence at all that any of the proposed gene editing outcomes could have occurred naturally. But if we can convince ourselves of that, then, and the plant, animal, they look all right, they seem to behave fine, then we should be happy with it. And there's absolutely no need for risk assessment and no need for labeling after marketing.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
If medicine were like fashion, genetic sequencing is about to take us from this to this. 99.9% of human DNA is the same. You are almost twins with this guy. But even tiny variations can have a massive impact on our health, disease susceptibility, and drug response. Until recently, it was super challenging to pinpoint these differences. The first human genome sequencing cost over $1 billion. Now imagine you're a tailor, making an outfit for someone named Sam, but all you know is that they're human. They could be small, large, short, tall. You have no specific measurements, so you gotta make something that would fit anyone with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. And that's how most drug development has gone up until now. It's a search for a one-cure-fits-all pill. If they run a clinical trial with 100 sick people given a drug and only 5 get better, it's probably back to the drawing board. But we're on the verge of medicine 3.0. Precision medicine. What if we could sequence the full genome of all those 100 people and run full blood panels and find the common factor amongst the 5 where the drug did work? Suddenly, we'd have a new targeted treatment, maybe even a more effective one. And thanks to advancements in technology by companies like Illumina, who I'm partnering with for this video in celebration of DNA Day, we can now sequence the whole human genome for just a few $100 and drop it, down from $1 billion, allowing us to identify common factors amongst individuals who respond to particular treatments. There's a lot more work to be done, but I for one am excited for the tailors to start finally working with measurements.
We've just finished a solid 5 hours debating the genetic technology brackets, precision breeding, close brackets bill, the so-called precision breeding bill, as I call it. And it's very interesting that the Labor expert, Lord Winston, joined me in expressing grave concerns about that terminology of so-called precision. as well as a lot of discussion about the fact that although people have been told by the government and in public consultations that this is different to GMOs, genetic modification, because it's only going to use genes, genetic material that already comes from the same species, actually it became very evident, and the minister acknowledged, that the whole process of CRISPR, as it's so called, method, which is the one being used very largely at the moment, almost inevitably ends up leaving some bacterial genetic material in the organism that's being dealt with. But I think one of the most interesting debates, and it's really telling that it's happening here in the House of Lords in a way that didn't happen in the House of Commons. The Institute for Government this week actually brought out a very interesting report stressing the need for far better scrutiny, particularly in the Commons, of government legislation. But here in the Lords, we were discussing, should this apply only to plants? Should it apply only to food plants? The minister rather hotly said that people should be able to use gene editing for fancy roses or for nice foliage on ornamental plants. Although I think when you look at the way the government's been selling the bill, that's definitely not what's being talked about. But also, and some of the most debate was around the issue of whether it should apply also to animals, and indeed which animals. Lord Winston brought up an interesting point about the great apes and indeed monkeys. And I think most of the House instinctively went, no, and the minister said, well, no, we can't see that happening. But the bill, as currently written, would allow that to happen. Lord Winston also raised the issue of equines, horses. And if we think about horse racing and the amount of money that's in horse racing, I think gene engineering in that context could be quite scary. But there's also the question of companion animals. Do we really want dogs, cats, gene edited? So lots of big issues to be discussed here, being discussed in depth in the House of Lords in a way that didn't happen in the House of Commons. One more sign of how much we so need to strengthen our democracy.
Man, hearing all this made me think about the old days when they were creating those big giants and monsters and everything that they supposedly or allegedly did. It's like it's repeating history. I mean, and you heard they trying to do another reset. The reset I just learned about, they tore down everything and started all over from the beginning. Comment below. Make sure you like the video, man. Let's get it.
And food companies and people who have a lot of money to spend controlling the message that people get. People are capable of being angry about a lot of things. They don't know to be angry about this because they don't know that they're being hurt. In other words, what happens is a cancer patient dies because the treatment was ineffective or actually killed the person. If they knew, they would be angry. And the problem with getting people to know is that if the drug companies pulled their advertising from the newspapers and magazines and television networks, they couldn't stay in business. So the drug companies are very smart. They have actually put themselves in a position to control what people know about health.
The conspiracy that Big Pharma took out Kobe Bryant?
Whoa, no, I have not. That's crazy.
So he was in a legal battle with this company that was using the Black Mamba name to sell these energy supplements. Apparently, not only was he suing them because they were using the Black Mamba name,
right,
but also because they were lacing these energy supplements with opioids.
Whoa.
It was like to get people more addicted to them so that they keep on buying them.
That's crazy.
He was in a venture capitalist partnership with someone named Jeff Steibel. And there's this weird conspiracy that he might be linked to it in some way because Jeff Steibel, you haven't heard anything about this, right?
No.
But if Kobe Bryant went and testified, and he had been
small percentage because so many of us blindly followed,
Hey, hold on, I don't know what's going on with that. Let me remove it, bring it back. I apologize for that, but that was crazy. They said Kobe was involved with Big Pharma. Now I heard that and everything, but I didn't know exactly,
took out Kobe Bryant?
Whoa, no, I have not. That's crazy.
So he was in a legal battle with this company that was using the Black Mamba name to sell these energy supplements. Apparently, not only was he suing them because they were using the Black Mamba name,
Right.
but also because they were lacing these energy supplements with opioids.
Whoa.
It was like to get people more addicted to them
Yeah,
so that they keep
yeah.
on buying them.
That's crazy.
He was in a venture capitalist partnership with someone named Jeff Steibel. And there's this weird conspiracy that he might be linked to it in some way because Jeff Steibel was invested in those 3 separate companies that Kobe Bryant was suing.
Wow.
And the thing is, his court date was 3 days before he died.
So they may have been like, look, he can't show up to that.
Something that really pushes this for me is the thought of, you haven't heard anything about this, right?
No.
But if Kobe Bryant went and testified,
Right.
and he had been talking about
Then
it,
we would have heard about it.
a lot more people would have heard about it.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest athletes of this generation.
Crazy.
Like totally unvaccinated. Is that like where do you find? Is it just the parents that stepped up and said? I would think that's a very small percentage because so many of us blindly followed, the recommendations to vaccinate children.
Yeah, it's less than 1% of the find any chronic diseases. The U.S. government has been studying Amish for decades. There's never been a word. Well, the reason, of course, is that it shows that if you follow our guidelines, you're going to end up healthier. That's why there's no decades of studying Amish.
That's crazy. Like my Wi-Fi just went out. If they messing with it, see, that's why I didn't even want to do this video. This video, man, when you talking about like big pharma or doing all that type of stuff, man, just the type of stuff that happened. Like I didn't even do nothing. Everything just shut down, y'all. Honestly, it's crazy. But let me finish this video, man.
My pharmacy. If your grandma comes in and she tries to fill a prescription, I'll give you metformin. My cost on metformin is roughly $2. I would sell her metformin for $4. As soon as she discloses that she has insurance, I have a gag clause. I am not allowed to tell her my cash pay price. I swipe her insurance card, Blue Cross, whatever it may be, boom, copay $10. And she gets her medicine, I charge her $10. Immediately when I swipe that card and I enter all that in the computer, I get a $7 clawback. Where does it go? It goes to the PBM. So you get what I was like, I could have saved her $6, but I can't disclose to her that. And now the money, the profits, I make less money, she pays more money, and the money goes back to the big insurance companies.
See how crooked they are?
It's happening right here, right now. And this is something that you need to be aware of, okay? This is going to affect you. An Amish farm was raided. The Amish don't need the government. As a matter of fact, the Amish don't care about gasoline prices or electricity prices because they use neither. The government sent armed federal agents to the farm and demanded they cease operation. Shut it down. It's also looking to issue more than $300,000 in fines that will put the farm out of business. So the government doesn't really have a legal way to shut them down, so they'll just slap a bunch of fines on them and just shut is happening right here, right now. And this is something that you need to be aware of, okay? This is going to affect you. An Amish farm was raided. The Amish don't need the government. As a matter of fact, the Amish don't care about gasoline prices or electricity prices because they use neither. The government sent armed federal agents to the farm and demanded they cease operation. Shut it down. It's also looking to issue more than $300,000 in fines that will put the farm out of business. So the government doesn't really have a legal way to shut them down, so they'll just slap a bunch of fines on them and just shut them down that way.
So I know a lot of you guys have seen some of the comments like this, about, what if you start all of this and the government coming to shut you down and the government's going to have a list of all of our farms and the government and the government and the government, right? Well, clearly I'm one of those that is not so much concerned about that. But I get it. If you are concerned about the government coming to shut you down or knowing what you're doing and whatever, this is probably not going to be the process for you. However, I did want to just make a point that if you've got a social security number in these here United States,
they can find you.
Like,
right.
Don't they already know where you are? If they want to know what you're doing, can't they come and pretty easily find you if they wanted to? So that's kind of where my risk aversion with the government begins and ends. Like, if they wanted to come and shut me down, it's not going to be hard for them to find me. And I think that's the case for most of us. So, yeah.
The conspiracy theory about the government controlling our seeds that we plant in our garden has some truth to it. Check this out. We're here in the diesel-powered greenhouse today, checking out how the plants are growing. And here is a flat of pumpkin seeds that were purchased for this year's growing season. These have been in the ground for 2 weeks. And you can tell there is 3 plants that are growing. It's not too bad, you might think, right? But check this out. This flat was planted at the same exact time as those. And these are seeds that were saved and harvested from pumpkins that were grown last year out of this very garden that these are going into. Pretty much every single one of those squares in that flat have popped up on a seed. And it was planted at the same exact time as those purchased seeds.
Wow. Now I need some help. I heard about Bill Gates and a couple of them people buying like some type of vault where they trying to hide all the organic seeds in and everything. I'm gonna have to do some research on it, but y'all heard anything about that? Comment below. Let me know what y'all think about this. Like, this is what they doing. They altering all our food. We can't even plant our own food the right, like, without it being GMO. Like, this is crazy, man. Y'all comment below. Let me know what you think. Make sure you like the video.
A little fishy, isn't it? Might be some truth into the government controlling what we grow. They don't want to mess out on that tax revenue. So let's stunt the seeds that everybody's purchasing to grow their own food. Weird.
Bill Gates is currently the largest holder of private farmland in the United States, holding roughly 242,000 acres of American farmland. Meanwhile, China owns and controls 192,000 acres of American farmland. Now, this might seem insignificant, but this is enough farmland to produce modified food for a whole nation if they wanted to. Now, of course, that's speculative, but this is the same Bill Gates that did a TED Talk in 2010 about population control and how to avoid global catastrophe by minimizing the growth rate of our world. Should we allow this? Should we allow Bill Gates and China to own this much farmland, knowing that their agenda has been made clear?
Hey guys, so drove past this farm, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it legit looks like it dried completely. I mean, this guy grows corn like every year. We always pass by, and I've never seen it like this, like all dried up. I mean, I don't know if that's the process, but I just don't remember looking that it looks this way, looking like this.
Yeah,
it's all dry. I don't know if it's the heat or honestly, like, this is weird. This is a whole cornfield, like, it's huge. I don't know. Let's keep them in our prayers. Like I said, I don't know if it's supposed to do this. I don't remember it doing this, but the whole field is completely dry.
Look at this. One man in Sugar Creek, Missouri planted this garden in order to grow his own food. But now he must destroy it by tomorrow or face a fine thanks to a new city ordinance.
City of Sugar Creek passed this ordinance 3 days ago, restricting the use of agriculture on front yards. But this family believes that their garden is being unfairly targeted and is at the root of this issue.
There's a radish right there.
To say Nathan Athens loves his garden would be an understatement.
I spend all my free time out here. I don't know, I would probably say about 300 hours.
It's important for his family.
I want my family to know where their food's coming from. I don't want to have to go to the grocery store and worry about what was done to that food.
But neighbors and city officials don't see the garden the same way.
I don't know that there would have been a problem with that had the gardens been well kept. They weren't.
Last summer, Athens received a citation for the garden, which he says he complied with.
We did it. Completely we addressed it, we took care of it, we paid our citation.
But now there's a new ordinance on the books specifying where vegetable gardens can begin.
Food vegetation within 30 feet of the street, and it's all within 30 feet.
Is it possible there was an ancient secret to growing enormous vegetables without the need of chemical fertilizers? Electroculture was rediscovered in the late 1770s. A French farmer began some experiments watering plants with electrified water. In 1771, he reported his findings that the germination of seeds and the sprouting of bulbs was quicker, and when the plants were electrified, they grew bigger. Incredibly, he also found plants giving off new roots and branches in the late fall, something that never typically happens. In 1783, he published a book called The Electrification of Vegetables, which included a description of the first electrocultural tool. The system consisted of copper rods placed in the soil that serves as antennas for the ambient energy surrounding. Electroculture is not pseudoscience. In 2021, the journal Nature reported on a Chinese group using electroculture. The researchers saw a dramatic reduction in the requirements of fertilizer, pesticides, as well as a 40% increase in yield.
If you really want to kill...
I wonder if that work on marijuana. I'm just... Y'all comment below, let me know what you think, but man, this is crazy. They altering everything. They don't want us to grow our own food. It's all about control, y'all. Make sure you comment, make sure you like the video.
Want to kill the most things, be a vegan, because the farmers who protect your beans kill everything. I kill one animal per arrow. In order to grow tofu, you have to kill every ground squirrel, every vole, every shrew, every snake, every turtle, every frog, every bird, every rabbit, anything that gets in that bean field, I'm either going to plow and dismember, which is why the crows and the seagulls follow the combines every year. And then if anything does survive my first slaughter, I'm going to come in with Monsanto and poison the shit out of everything so you can have a tofu salad and not be responsible for any death. Fuck you.
That's a really good point, and it's a point that a lot of people ignore.
And avoid because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Isn't life full of uncomforting things? And you shouldn't be uncomfortable. To kill game, to feed mankind.
Congratulations, boys. You made it through another Taco Tuesday. Back in the bucket till next week.
Weren't those vegetables so bad?
Nope, they're genetically modified to stay fresh. Just don't ask how old the Jell-O is.
Ew. Overreactor.org warns that over half of the vegetables sold in this country are genetically modified organisms whose effect on humans is unknown.
There go the Simpsons again, y'all. They always predicting something. Man, obviously y'all can see what's going on. I mean, it's a plan. I think it's a control plan. We just got to be safe, what we eat and putting in our bodies. It's crazy. Comment below. Let me know what you think about this video. This crazy video. It stopped in the middle when it was talking about Big Pharma. Like it never happened to me. It just shut down. The Wi-Fi turned off, it shut down. Then I went back to it and came back on. Never happened. I didn't want to do this video, but hey, comment below, man. Appreciate everybody who tapped in. It's your boy Thou, FamOverTV. Peace.
Fam over.